Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're getting into something pretty fundamental about language. Minimalist syntax, specifically phase theory.
That's right. We're using minimalist syntax, phase theory explored as our guide here.
And our goal really is to understand what these phases are all about. Why are they seen as so crucial for how we build sentences, maybe even how we understand them?
It's about looking under the hood, so to speak, at this amazing thing we do constantly without thinking.
Okay, so let's start there. What exactly are phases in this minimalist view of language?
Well, imagine building a sentence isn't one smooth process, but happens in distinct chunks or stages. Phases are proposed as these key computational chunks.
Right, like assembly stages. And the main ones people talk about are CP and VP.
Exactly. CP is roughly the clause level. Think of a full thought, often introduced by words like that or if. It's like the whole container for the idea.
Okay, the clause level. And VP.
VP, or little VP, as it's sometimes called, is more about the core action and its participants, the verb and its arguments, like the dog chased the ball. It's focused on the event itself.
Got it. So these are specific structural units, these projections. But why are these particular units considered phases? What makes them special?
That's the key question. The idea is that once the linguistic system finishes assembling one of these phases, say a VP, its internal workings become, well, less accessible to operations happening outside it.
Less accessible. That sounds like this phase impenetrability condition, the PIC.
Precisely, the PIC. It sounds a bit intimidating, doesn't it?
Yeah, a little bit.
But the core idea is fairly intuitive, maybe like sealing a box. Once it's sealed, you can't easily reach back inside to rearrange things from the outside. You interact with the box as a whole, or maybe just things right at the very edge.
Okay, like a completed module. So how does this sealing off impact how language actually works? Why does having phases matter?
Well, it has big implications. For one thing, it affects movement. You know how words can move around in sentences, like when we form questions?
Sure. What did you eat instead of you did eat what?
Exactly. Phase theory suggests this movement isn't totally free. It's constrained. Elements often seem to move to the edge of a phase before they can move further out. The PIC explains why things deep inside a phase can't just leap out arbitrarily.
So the phase edge is like escape hatch.
Sort of, yeah. It channels movement. And it's not just movement. Phases are also thought to be crucial for interpretation, for figuring out the meaning. The way things are packaged into phases might influence how we calculate, say, quantifier scope or pronoun reference.
Interesting. And there's a computational angle too, right, about processing complexity.
Definitely. Think about how complex sentences can get. The idea is that by breaking the computation down into these smaller phase-sized chunks, the brain can manage the workload more efficiently. It ships off a completed phase, maybe to the part dealing with sound or meaning, and then focuses on the next one. It might be related to our working memory limitations.
Right, sort of chunking the problem. You mentioned sending things off. Is that related to spell out? I saw that term in our source.
Yes, exactly. Spell out is the point where a chunk of syntactic structure is sent off to the phonological component, the system that deals with pronunciation. Phases are often considered the relevant domains for spell out. So you complete a phase, you spell it out, send it off.
So it's like sending completed sections of code to be compiled.
That's not a bad analogy, actually. And this ties into something else. Locality effects.
Locality, meaning things prefer to happen close together.
Yeah. We observe in lots of languages that grammatical relationships like agreement or movement seem to operate over relatively short distances. Things inside one phase interact easily, but interactions across phase boundaries are more restricted. The PIC provides a natural explanation for this. The insides of a completed phase are hard to reach.
Makes sense. It keeps things local. Now, the source just touched on this, but is it always clear-cut? Can phases be bypassed? Are CP and VP the only ones?
Well, that's where things get more complex and debated. While CP and VP are the most widely accepted phases, there's ongoing research about whether other units, maybe like DP, the noun phrase, could also be phases in some languages or contexts.
So it's not completely settled.
Not at all. And people question the strictness of the PIC, whether there are exceptions or parametric variation. Linguists use various empirical tests, looking at movement possibilities, scope interactions, things like that, to probe for phase boundaries. And of course, there are alternative minimalist models that try to capture these locality effects without relying on phases in quite the same way.
Okay, so it's an active area. Let's try to sum up the main idea then. We have these proposed units, phases, typically CP and VP, that act as sort of self-contained chunks in sentence building.
Right. And they're governed by the phase impenetrability condition, the PIC.
Which means once a phase is built, its internal structure is largely off limits to operations outside it, except maybe at the very edge.
And this restriction impacts word movement, how we interpret meaning, and it potentially helps our brains manage the computational load of language.
And phases are also linked to spell out when parts get sent for pronunciation and help explain those locality effects, why grammar often prefers short distances.
You've got it. It's a really elegant theoretical proposal trying to capture some deep properties of how language is structured.
It really is. And thinking about this idea of information being packaged into phases with limited access once a phase is done, it makes you wonder, doesn't it?
How so?
Well, could other cognitive processes work similarly? Like when we're learning a complex skill or even just processing our day-to-day experiences? Do we chunk information into phases in our minds, maybe making earlier stages less accessible once we've moved on? What if understanding the world itself is somehow phase-based?
That's a fascinating thought. Compartmentalization as a general cognitive strategy.
Yeah. Maybe the structure of language reflects a deeper structure in how we think and process everything. Definitely something to chew on. Thanks for exploring this with us today.